Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay in the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
What's going on, Night fans? Jeff, Sharon, Eric Lopez with you here for the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, an emergency NIT edition of the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We just wanted to quickly preview this big moment for UCF basketball, getting into the NIT for the first time under Johnny Dawkins and Coach Dawkins' first year. Lopez, you excited about this?
Yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, I love college basketball. I love this time of year. Postseason, I think it's one of the best times of the year in sports, and I think we're witnessing a historic week in Central Florida when you have the NCAA tournament at the Amway Center with Florida and Florida State involved, and now you've got UCF hosting its first ever NIT game.
That's right.
Against Colorado. I mean, it's not like you're playing a mid-major team. You're playing
you're not playing
a Power
some directional school.
Correct. So. And you know, I think it's an exciting time. You know, UCF made the NIT, obviously, way back there when they lost to Drexel in 2012. But that was on the road. And with respect to the CBI and the CIT and all that, I think the NIT obviously has more cachet. And obviously, just considering where this program was 365 days ago, Jeff, just blows me away that we're even talking about a postseason home basketball game, yeah. and maybe make some noise.
Well, here's what we're going to do for this, because I do agree with you on that. Here's what we're going to do for this story. We're going to this will be a really quick 10, 15-minute just discussion of the men's team. The women we'll talk about in just a second. A little bit more complicated. But before we do that, just a reminder, you can follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and TuneIn. And also follow me at Jeff_Sharon. Follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. You can hit us up on Facebook and on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. All right. Men's basketball. But first of all, here's what we know at this instant in time. We're recording this Monday night, about 10 minutes to 10 p.m. Both the men's and the women's basketball teams are going to their respective NITs. The men's team lost in the semifinals to the number 12 SMU, 70-59, after blowing out Memphis by 30. And, you know, hey, look, SMU, they're going to the NCAA tournament. They won the conference outright. Congratulations. Tip your hat to them. Men's basketball team is going to the NIT. We are going to host the Colorado Buffaloes Wednesday night, March 15th, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. At CFE Arena in the first round of the NIT. Now, the women we know are in the NIT, but that's all we know at this moment, Lopez. So why don't you, we were just talking about this a second ago, fill in for everybody exactly how this works with the women, because we just got announced that we're in the field, but we don't know who we're playing yet.
Yeah, at the time of this recording, the women's NIT, it's a little more complicated than the men's NIT for some reason. But first of all, it's a 64-team field, the women's NIT. So you got more teams to deal with. Now, UCF, by the way, was an automatic team into the women's NIT. And the reason why in the women's, they have a rule. UCF, because they were the best team out of the American Conference that didn't make the NCAA tournament, automatically had a bid into the NIT. They're already in. They're automatically in. So, it's an interesting little quirk in the rule, right? So,
I like that rule.
You like that? So they're already in. Now, it's a 64-team field. But the women's NIT, unlike the men's NIT is owned by the NCAA. And that's why ESPN's involved, and there was very quick show and stuff like that. Well, the women's NIT is owned by a private group. It's not really with the NCAA per se, so it's a little more hush-hush. So the women's field was announced Monday night at 9 o'clock, and that's where a lot of people have announced, hey, we're on the field. The field of 64 has been announced. So now, but then they're trying to make the brackets. And for some reason, part of it is to make sure who can host and things like that. And all expectations are, from what people have been telling me and from what people have said, is that UCF women's will host as well, more than likely against Stetson, who lost in the ASUN tournament championship to Florida Gulf Coast on Sunday, or Jacksonville, who was a team that is in the field for the women's NIT, or Bethune-Cookman, because it's a simple bus trip. It's a quick turnaround, obviously. And that's, if the NCAA's, it's a nice, cost efficient move.
You could put them, all four of them in a pod together too. That would be kind of interesting.
Exactly. Right.
So.
Now, the interesting thing about it is the women's NIT first round dates are Wednesday through Friday, whereas the men's NIT runs all the way from like Tuesday to I believe Friday, something like Tuesday to Thursday, maybe something to that extent. Well, the men's is obviously playing on Wednesday at home. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing will happen with the women will be, well, do they host? If they host, will it be on Wednesday, maybe before the men's game or after the game or whatever they decide to do, or do they host on a Thursday or a Friday? And that could be some issues there, because Thursday, a lot of the UCF staffers that work these arenas, and very well, Jeff, you work with them, and some of them directly, are working the NCAA tournament on Thursday for the opening round of the NCAA tournament at the Amway Center, because a lot of the staffers will be working that. So that the UCF, they're going to be shorthanded on Thursday. So I would be shocked if they hosted a game on a Thursday. So the other option would be Friday. Well, Friday, UCF's hosting Jacksonville in baseball. And softball's hosting nationally ranked Baylor. So I'm not 100% sure, like everybody else, that thinks UCF women's will host. I would not be shocked because of all those issues that maybe the women's team goes to Stetson. We'll find out soon enough,
right,
when the brackets come out late night, and go from there.
Tomorrow, what we'll do is, tomorrow's going to be Tuesday. Eric and I will both be at the softball game tomorrow, doubleheader tomorrow against Iowa State. So we're both working that game. Eric's doing play-by-play. I'm going to do PA at the softball complex. So right after that, we're going to record a quick little breakdown, because by then we'll know where the UCF women's team is in the bracket. So stay tuned on that. Stay tuned for that, on iTunes, on Google Play, SoundCloud, and TuneIn, and wherever you may find this podcast, particularly on blackandgoldbanneret.com, and also on our Twitter feed as well. All right, let's talk men. Obviously, the Knights are in the NIT. They are in the Illinois State bracket. 32 teams in the NIT. The Final Four meet in Madison Square Garden in New York City, March 28th and 30th. First round goes March 14th and 15th. The Knights are in a 4-team pod with Colorado, who they're a 4 seed in the NIT in this Illinois State bracket, which kind of has a bunch of Midwestern teams in it. With a couple of exceptions, like Midwestern and Upper Western teams. So UCF is the 4 seed. They're playing a 5 seed Colorado. Colorado's 19-14, obviously, out of the Pac-12. The game will be March 15th. That is Wednesday, is that right? Wednesday, yeah. Wednesday at 7 p.m. It is televised on ESPN3, which is your Watch ESPN app and all that. The Knights will, assuming the Knights get through Colorado, they will play the winner of Illinois State and UC Irvine, which is at Illinois State. Illinois State went 27-6. They're a 1 seed in that region, obviously. That game will be actually immediately following UCF's game on ESPNU. So if the Knights get through at 7, you can actually catch who their opponent will be immediately following that game on the U, on ESPNU. A couple notes on this. UCF is one of 2 American Athletic Conference teams in the NIT field. The other is Houston. Houston is a 2 seed. On the other side of the bracket, they're playing Akron in the first round. I thought, looking at where UCF ended up at 21-11, I thought they would be a 4 seed, but I was surprised to see them in a bracket, Eric, with the following teams: Illinois State, UC Irvine, Colorado, Utah, Boise State, Illinois, Valparaiso. So you have Midwest and Western teams in this bracket. UC Irvine, Colorado, Utah, Boise State are basically Western teams, and you got Illinois State, and then Illinois and Valparaiso, which are upper, which are basically Midwest teams. You're talking Illinois, Indiana, and then here we are, UCF out of Florida, the only Southern or Southeastern team in this bracket. I thought we were going to end up actually on the other side of the bracket. I was hoping we would end up in the Syracuse bracket. They're a 1 seed in the in one region. And you've got UNC Greensboro, you've got Monmouth, Ole Miss, Indiana, Georgia Tech, Georgia Belmont. You got some Southern teams in that side. We don't have any. We're the only Southern team on our side, so I think that's a disadvantage. And I felt like it was a bracket that was kind of a throw together bracket. There's kind of a method to the madness in the other three, I think, and there's not as much of a method in this one. I think this may have been like the last bracket that they filled out when they were filling this tournament out. Nonetheless, we're in the NIT. What do you think about that? Do you think we kind of got hosed a little bit on this?
I would say hosed. I mean, actually, if anything, I think they got a favorable draw.
Okay.
I mean, you look at it.
That's fair.
Because here's why. Colorado, very good team out of the Pac-12. What's ironic about Colorado?
19-14 this year, by the way. And they sorry to interrupt on this, but they beat Washington State in their first game in the Pac-12 tournament and then lost to Arizona by 14 points on Thursday.
And comes out of the Pac-12. What's interesting is 2 years ago, when the NCAA tournament was here in Orlando, Colorado was here. Mm-hmm. They were in the 8-9 game, played against Pittsburgh at the Amway Center. I watched them in person. They got blown out by Pittsburgh. That was the region where Florida beat Pittsburgh after that. But it's funny. I've seen a majority of these Colorado players, some of them that they're still from holdovers from that team. And, it just fascinates. It's kind of funny that 2 years later, Colorado's back in postseason and they're back in Orlando. So, but that's a long travel for Colorado. If you think about it, I mean, going all the way from Boulder to Orlando, they're going to have to adjust to the East time zone. They're not
two time zones away.
Yeah, 2 time zones away. And Colorado is not a very good road team. It's one of the reasons why they're not in the NCAA tournament, why they throw in the Pac-12. So to me, I think that's an advantage for UCF. And I think here's the other thing. It's huge, I think, that UCF is hosting when you consider the fact they played up at Hartford on Saturday, lost to SMU. They didn't get back to Orlando till Sunday because, again, they don't fly charter, which – again, this is why the charter flight situation is a very common topic that has been brought up with this men's basketball program that people are trying to address because, a lot of top basketball programs, and this, can just fly out of there after a conference tournament game. Well, UCF can't do that because they don't have a charter. So a lot of them had to, they fly commercial. So they flew, a lot of them Friday, Sunday. And they get back to Sunday. So can you imagine if they got back on Sunday and they had to go on the road? They probably would have had to go on a flight either maybe early Tuesday all of a sudden. That's a tough turnaround. So I think it helps them that they're A, at home, and B, they're playing a team that's got to fly 2 time zones away, and they got to make the adjustments. That's going to be fascinating to me how they handle that. But and then you look at potential. If they were to get past Colorado, which, it's no sure thing. I mean, we'll get into Colorado is a very talented team, especially in the backcourt. It's going to be fascinating. Illinois State has 1 win. I believe they have their best win against the top 50 team with Wichita State, who they lost 2 out of 3 against. They don't scare you. And then, UC Irvine, again, same situation. If UC Irvine were to pull the upset on Illinois State, let's say, then there's a chance UCF, if they were to win their game, would host UC Irvine. Then UC Irvine would have to travel to Orlando. So I think it's a pretty favorable draw for UCF here with an opportunity, to make a run here.
Some interesting notes on this, by the way. Obviously, we haven't played Colorado in the regular season, but we do share an opponent this year. both UCF and Colorado faced Seattle earlier this year. Colorado defeated Seattle in Boulder 67-55. UCF beat them 67-51 on November the 26th. Interestingly enough, those two games were separated by about 12 days. Colorado beat Seattle on November the 14th. Yeah, I think you're right. My hope is that this actually works out in UCF's favor in terms of, by the way, UC Irvine traveled to UCF was it last year? Taco Fall had a big game, but UCF lost 61-60.
Well, that was the matchup.
November 18th last year, the 2-7-6 kids going against each other.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. Yeah,
so
I remember that. Was
so there's that. And then, looking at it, hey, my hope is that we don't come out in this game against Colorado just happy to be there, right? I think that's the biggest danger for UCF is just being happy that you're there. I think that UCF should approach this game with the level of intensity that, hey, let's get after these guys, and we have, at least the way this field works out, we have a potential to really, like you said, make some noise. If UCF gets through that 1-8-4-5 pod, then you're facing either one of four teams: Utah, Boise State, Illinois, or Valparaiso. A couple teams in there that I think are kind of like, we're not, we're just kind of playing out the string, except for Valparaiso. I think that they might cause some trouble. We played them in the past at CFE Arena before, I know. So, what do you think about our chances of actually getting through this thing? I mean, do you think that it's pretty much second round or bust, or do you think that we could do you think that there's a chance that we could get to Madison Square Garden?
I think there's always a chance in the NIT because you mentioned the NIT is kind of a crapshoot, right? A lot of it depends on what teams are motivated to be there, what teams are not motivated to be there. Is Colorado excited to be in the NIT, or are they not excited to be in NIT? Are they going to be excited to be being on a plane and playing in Orlando, or are they not? You mentioned Syracuse. What is Syracuse mindset going to be into the NIT? They just missed out. What is Illinois State's mindset? Illinois State thought they had a shot to get into the NCAA. That's another reason why I wouldn't be shocked if they got upset by UC Irvine.
Yeah, there's kind of that hangover from that, right?
Yes, that's the challenge. So I don't think that's an issue with UCF. I think they're genuinely excited to play in the NIT. Something to keep in mind. Coach Dawkins is obviously knows a little bit about the NIT. He's won championships in the NIT at Stanford. So he knows the drill with this. And, of course, he knows Colorado from the Pac-12. Him and Tad Boyle, of course, the head coach at Colorado. They met 8 times. Boyle actually has had success against Dawkins. So it's fascinating from that standpoint in that Johnny, I think, knows the Colorado personnel from the Pac-12, which is another reason I kind of like this matchup as well. So, I think UCF's got their chances. But, look, Colorado's a talented team. They got a good backcourt, and, they're going to still be a handful. And I think UCF, there's still kind of be the question of, does UCF have a hangover from a standpoint? You were just in Hartford. You just lost SMU on Saturday. Now you got to turn around. You got a home game on Wednesday. I'm glad the game's on Wednesday and not Tuesday. Let me put it that way. Because I would be a lot more concerned about that being a quick turnaround. I think the extra day will help them a lot. And I think the guys are generally excited about still playing basketball. And I kind of, I count the NIT kind of like bowl games. I think the great thing, you hope they win. If for nothing else, it's extra practice time. And I'm always for that.
Exactly. And one other note about Johnny Dawkins. He has been to the NIT 3 times at Stanford as a head coach and won 2 of them. In 2012, they won the NIT. Year they went 26-11. And then in 2014, 2015 also, Stanford won the NIT with Johnny Dawkins at the helm. That was the last year before he was let go. They finished 24-13 that year. In fact, it's funny. That was kind of the knock on Johnny Dawkins for the people who were knocking. They're like, oh, well, you're going to go to the NIT again every year and you win a couple of NITs with Johnny Dawkins. And congratulations. I'm like, listen, I'll take the NIT. I'm happy with that. Obviously, I want UCF to get to the NCAA tournament at some point. I think we will under Johnny Dawkins. But But, if you're playing in the postseason, that should be your goal. That's, get those extra home games, get on TV if you can. I think that we could indeed cause some trouble. What do you think about the Colorado game? You think we're going to, what do you think our chances are in that?
It's a fascinating matchup because, Colorado, as I mentioned, they've got some talented guards that UCF's going to be dealing with. I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup from that standpoint. I'm curious to see how Colorado. I think you'll know early, right? How does Colorado come out early in that ball game? I'll be curious.
Yeah.
After making the long travel, are they going to be into it? Are they not going to be into it? But certainly Derek White is the kid that you got to remember his name. He's their leading scorer, 17 points a game.
Yep.
He
Pretty
was
good rebounder too. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, kind of a do-it-all kind of guy.
And he's kind of an NBA prospect, and that's going to be a handful for B.J. Taylor or Matt Williams to deal with. So, Colorado averages 75 points a game. Again, though, here's the big thing: 4-8 on the road this year. That's we're compared to 13-4. So that's going to be a bit of an adjustment for them. Colorado, not a big surprise, likes to shoot the 3-pointers.
They're a big team. They got a bunch of 6'7" guys like Xavier Johnson, 6'7", 225. Wesley Gordon, who's another guy who they have up front is 6'9", 245-pound forward. And you mentioned White, who's from Parker, Colorado, 6'5", he's a 6'5" kid. George King is a 6'6" guard. They got some size, this Colorado team.
Yes, they do. So it's an intriguing matchup. You can make the argument it's one of the better first-round matchups of the NIT. I mean, I don't know what would have been more appealing, I guess, considering where UCF was seeded, okay? It was a 4 seed. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what 5 seed would have been more appealing than Colorado to come?
Well, the other 5 seeds are Charleston, who we beat, Ole Miss, and Fresno. I wouldn't have minded another shot at Charleston. We know we beat them earlier.
I don't know if that would have drawn a lot of more excitement. I mean, maybe I guess you could say Ole Miss because they're an SEC team. Maybe some people would have
Fresno travel all the way over from California to come play us. That might be an advantage. I personally thought that I think Brandon Helwig, our friend from UCFsports.com, kind of projected out that we would probably be a 4 seed and host Monmouth as a 5 seed. And Monmouth ended up getting a 4 seed, and they're hosting Ole Miss in Long Branch, New Jersey.
Which, how is that going to happen, by the way? Isn't there a blizzard supposedly?
There's a storm coming. And, listen, if there was a snowstorm coming to Florida, people would be battening down the hatches. But they know how to deal with weather up north. They'll be fine. Stop. I'm not worried about that. I thought that would have been pretty interesting to have UCF in that bracket because you got Syracuse and North Carolina, Greensboro. Let's say you flipped UCF in place of Ole Miss, and you put UCF as a 4 seed and Monmouth as a 5. Then you're playing the winner of you get through Monmouth, you're playing the winner of Syracuse and UNCG, and then the other 4 teams on the other side of the bracket are Indiana, Georgia Tech, Georgia, and Belmont. There's no uninteresting matchup with any of those teams. So that's kind of what I'm like. Illinois State versus UC Irvine. I mean, I like our chances against both of those teams, but none of those matchups scream, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." You know what I mean? Same thing with Utah, Boise. I mean, maybe Illinois or Valpo, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because that's on the Syracuse side of the bracket, and that's what I wanted to see. I want to see UCF against Syracuse, but the only way I'm ever going to see UCF against Syracuse is if it's in the title game.
Right.
So.
And we'll see how besides, the Syracuse-Greensboro thing is entertaining. The question, obviously, is how many people will come to this game. It's such a quick turnaround.
Well, here's why I wanted to give UCF some credit. They came out today, and was it today? I don't know. But they the story was the ticket prices, I thought. I think it's $20 general admission to get in. And here's the actual information. Okay. Premium seating, $20. Pretty decent price. Regular reserve seating, $12. Students, $4. And the first 300 students get in for free. First come, first serve at the CFE Arena box office on the morning of the game. So basically, this is like, big, huge. They're putting out some really big, huge discounts for postseason basketball at UCF. And I like that. I think that's a great move by Danny White. I think it's a great move by the ticket staff. This is basically a bonus game anyway. Let's lower some ticket prices and get as many people into this arena as humanly possible. What do you think about that?
I agree. Now, keep in mind, it's spring break, so I don't expect to see a lot of students in attendance due to spring break.
You might see. I mean, at that, if you're getting the first 300 in for free, I mean, I think you get a fair. There's a larger number of students who stick around during spring break than you think. Not everyone goes traveling. I mean, students, they have jobs and stuff. I mean, I know that when I was a student, I had a job that I had to work at through spring break. There's a number of students who do that. So, and then you have this game on, a Wednesday night. Hey, get off of work, come to the game. Why not?
We'll see. I mean, that's going to be the interesting thing. I mean, what would you put a number? Would you say? Because I think if they were to draw overall, and I'm not talking students I'm just talking the whole building. If they were to draw 4,000, let's say, 4 or 5,000, I think it'd be a success. Considering it's an NIT game on a quick turnaround with spring break, you have the NCAA tournament in your backyard, so there's a lot of stuff going on. I think you're shooting for. Because I remember when they hosted the CBI game, I think they ended up drawing about 2,500 to 3,500 for those games, if I remember. I mean, it's I don't have it in front of me, but when they hosted,
I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, I mean, when they hosted it was in 2011. They hosted the St. Bonaventure and Rhode Island. I was there.
Andrew Nicholson in St. Bonaventure.
Correct. So that was to me, CBI, and people are kind of curious about it. But now I think people feel more good. The difference is this year's team finishing on a positive note, whereas that team finished on a down note. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind when you consider those numbers. But I don't even honestly. I know it's not. I don't really care what the attendance is. That's not my problem. It's not my. I don't care. I'm more excited for the players and the coaching staff for earning this opportunity. Than I do about who shows up. I'm excited that they get to extend basketball and that they get rewarded for a fantastic season, a season that I don't think anybody ever would imagine would end up in a postseason tournament.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's so valuable, and I think that it's a good capper also for these seniors. They get to play, at least one more game here. Happy for Matt Williams. He gets another shot at the home floor. And, I hope we can keep it going. I'm look at me looking at this through black and gold, color glasses. But, I think there's a good shot that we could get to Madison Square Garden, considering how this team finished, considering I thought how well we played in the conference tournament. Guys, SMU's good, and I thought we hung with them for much of that game. They eventually put us away with some really great shooting on their part, but I like our chances against Colorado. I like our chances against either Illinois State or UC Irvine. And then after that, you win one more game. Who knows where that game gets hosted? But you win 2 games, right? 1, 2, 3. No, you win 3 games. You're in the semis in Madison Square Garden. And I think that's the goal: is get to the Garden. You never know what's going to happen when you get there. So I'm excited.
It would be tremendous. It would be tremendous if they could pull that off. You got to take it one day at a time. By the way, you mentioned Nicholson, that St. Bonaventure game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nicholson did play in that game, scored 20 points. UCF won that game 69-54. Nicholson, 20 points, 4 boards, future NBA prospect. And again, White with Colorado, future NBA prospect potential in that game. UCF kind of controlled it, and they came away with the victory. So you never know. That's the cool thing about it, is you could see a future prospect play in the NBA. And that's the thing, the level of basketball. The thing that blows my mind, let me read you the UCF lineup from that game.
Oh,
you had Marcus Jordan starting.
Uh-huh.
Isaac Sosa, that was your backcourt.
Yep.
With Keith Clanton and P.J. Gaynor. With Dwight McCombs, man. Huh? With Tom Herzog, you had Rumsa, AJ Tyler. There are some good names.
Oh, by the way, you're going to like this. All right, I found odds for this game, UCF is a 2.5-point favorite.
See, it's basically a pick'em game because the home team always usually gets 3 points.
Now, this is on sportsline.com. So,
wow,
yeah,
wow, I'm blown away by that. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good turnaround there. So no, I think it's a good game. It's an interesting matchup.
And by the line has moved in UCF's favor. It opened at UCF -1. So,
money interesting. So they maybe try to see if people would put money on Colorado, but instead people are putting money on UCF. Who knows? That's
on the home game, on the home team, right? Home team with a better record. Colorado's 18-14, 11-20 against the number. UCF this year 13-13 against the number. So, and a better point differential too. So,
a lot of that too is the power conference, right? I mean, some of that is this team is in the power conference, so we kind of have to respect that and so forth. So, that's probably part of the reason why that was like a 1-point spread to start off with, because, it's a Pac-12 team,
Right.
But by the way, I was stalling. 29:45 was the attendance for that St. Bonaventure game in the CBI. It was on a Wednesday, March 16th, ironically. Now, that was an 8 o'clock tip-off that night. Now, the CBI. And then the next round was against Rhode Island on the 21st of March. UCF won that game 66-54. The attendance for that was 39:49.
I do remember because I think that game was after spring break. The students were back by then.
I think that sounds right. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
And we won that game. We won our last game at home. That was kind of fun.
That's correct on that. They then lost to Creighton at Creighton. In that following round.
And Creighton, I think, went on to win the CBI that year, if I'm not mistaken. I know the CBI is a best of 3. Oh, no, they lost. I'm sorry. They lost to Oregon that year. They lost Oregon.
Yes, that's right. What I like to call the Dana Altman Championship. Yes,
the Dana Altman Bowl.
That's right. That's correct on that. Fun.
So, once again, UCF is in the NIT. The men's team is in the NIT. Both the men's and the women's teams are in the NIT. The men's team will play Wednesday night against the Colorado Buffaloes, 7 p.m. at CFE Arena, televised on ESPN3. But go there, support your seniors. The Knights are the 4 seed playing the Colorado Buffaloes. They'll, if they win, they will face the winner of Illinois State and UC Irvine in the Illinois State bracket. Stick around on UCF_Banneret for all the latest on UCF's postseason basketball. We'll be back again with more than likely another emergency podcast about the women's team that we'll knock out tomorrow while we're at the softball complex together for that game. By the way, don't forget to go there for tomorrow. UCF against Iowa State, doubleheader tomorrow. And it's also First Responders and Military Day at the UCF softball complex, so that's always fun to do, and a fun time to go there for that against Iowa State. 2 games against the Big 12 Cyclones. So again, for all the latest, make sure you follow us at UCF_Banneret. Also follow me at Jeff_Sharon and Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. And look us up at the Black and Gold Banneret on Facebook and at blackandgoldbanneret.com. So Eric, once again, thanks. I'll catch you tomorrow, brother.
Sounds good, bud.
All right, and thanks for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We'll catch you tomorrow with a preview of the women's NIT matchup. UCF men are going to the NIT Wednesday night, 7 p.m. against Colorado at CFE Arena. We'll catch you
there. Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.